Hey there Hawkers, welcome back to another video. Hope you have all had time to recover from Sunday. Those types of games will really test you as a supporter. And speaking of tests, the boys will have yet another tough game against the Western Bulldogs in our third Sunday afternoon graveyard shift game in a row. Let's get straight into the preview. The Western Bulldogs are coming off a really tough loss over in Perth against a very promising side in the Fremantle Dockers. It was a tight contest for the majority of the game, and Fremantle led the whole way except for a little patch midway through the second quarter, and ultimately secured the dub by 24 points. Freo led in most facets of the game, but the Dogs still looked pretty dangerous with their tackling and their pressure inside their forward 50, but couldn't punish Freo from turnovers like what Sydney did to us last weekend. Freo were dominant at the stoppage, winning the total clearance count by about 17, and normally this is one of the Doggies' strong suits. They did have some missing players in that midfield brigade, admittedly. It was really just Bont and Treloar going up against one of the better up-and-coming midfields in the competition, but we should look for them to bounce back from that performance, and our underperforming midfield will have a tough task nonetheless. This team does look vulnerable at the moment, though. Just a couple of weeks ago, they were belted by the Bombers, who was a team that we actually were able to compete with in our round one clash with them. They look set to regain the services of Ugle-Hagan, who has improved immensely since the last time these two sides met in round 22 last year, where we got over the line by 3 points in Tassie. Along with Jamara, they will be receiving a huge boost in the midfield with the return of Tom Liberatore from an illness which kept him out of the game against Freo. But on the upside, the dangerous Cody Waitman is a huge out after injuring himself early in the piece on the weekend. And another small who is having a really good season, Riley West, will be serving a one-game suspension as well. On the flip side, Chol will be serving a one-game suspension for his silly clash with Golden against Sydney, so we will be heading into the game without an established key forward, and coming against Liam Jones and the improving Buku Camus. This will really test our forward line to kick a winning score, which we have actually struggled to do so even at full strength at the start of the season. Sam Mitchell will have some selection headaches, to say the least. On the upside, Massimo D'Ambrosio should return after being managed last week, and we could also see Nick Watson reappear after recovering from an ankle injury. We obviously need some marking targets up there, so I reckon Ramsden will probably fulfill the full forward duties alongside Gunston. I have seen speculation about Kolshadia debuting after his promising performances in the VFL, but I do think we are at least a couple of months away from seeing him at senior level. He still looks a little bit underdone, probably can't run out a full game in the seniors. I think there is potential for a bit of a shake-up after that woeful performance against the Swans. Jai Sarong will probably be dropped after being subbed out, and Seamus Mitchell also had a pretty shocking game, so I do expect him to head back to the VFL this weekend as well. Josh Ward and Hustwaite both played pretty solid games in the reserves and are both a chance to feature on Sunday. I will be interested to see what we do. I hope the axe swings. We can't be complacent and make no changes after a loss like that. So how are we going to win this game of footy? It all starts in the midfield. We will be coming up against pretty much the best in the business. Bont, Libber and Treloar are all great contested players that can also use the ball pretty well, so we will need to improve on our defensive work at the stoppages and pile on the pressure. I want to see the same pressure we inflicted on North Melbourne a couple of weeks ago. We suffocated them at the stoppages for easy turnovers, and that's how we generated most of our scores. If we can't stick our tackles and win the ball back in the middle, then they're going to have a field day. They have some elite kickers coming off of half back, and if their mids get first use to the footy and get it out to those outside runners, then they are going to have a field day. We simply need to win the midfield battle to win this game. The Dogs also thrive on controlling the ball on the outside. They are number one in the comp for uncontested possessions and number one in the comp for marks. And with our zone defense, there's a chance that it could simply just cut through for easy scores from defensive transition. This is a team that loves to run with the ball, and we will need to be at our best and recapture some of that form that we saw last year if we are going to keep up with those runners. Our midfielders will simply just need to be better if we have any chance of kicking a winning score. Without any real key forwards up there, we will need to be more creative with our inside 50s. There won't be any use bombing it long. Jones and Karmas are just too good in the air to hope and pray that one of our players will take a pack mark. I don't want to see any of that. We can't play boring, complacent football if we are any chance at all of winning. The addition of Massimo D'Ambrosio will help our ball use a little bit going forward, but everyone else will need to be at their best too. I want to see us change the angles, small forwards leading into space, and some of our midfielders pushing up the ground to see if they can get on the scoreboard too. Ramsden and Gunston will be in for a very tough shift, and the smalls will have to step up big time. If Ginnivan can't get on the board with a few goals, then he will probably face some issues staying in this team with the return of Wingard and Bruce on the horizon in the next few weeks. Sicily and Frost will also have their hands full. Norton and Ugle-Hagan are one of the best key forward combos in the comp at the moment and are both serious aerial threats. This might be an opportunity to bring our SSP selection, Ethan Phillips, into the game to play a little bit of a lockdown role back there so Sicily can focus more on his intercept game. I'm not in any way saying that Phillips is a sure thing to lock down either Ugle-Hagan or Norton, but he has performed pretty well for Box Hill and has displayed his ability to shut down his direct opponent, and he does not get outmarked very often. He's a pretty big boy. With all of that being said, I'm not very confident on pulling off an upset. The Dogs are very strong at Marvel, but this is our biggest chance of a win out of our 4 games in the next month or so. So it's now or never, at least until our game against the Crows at the MCG. I think we will put up a much better fight than we did against Sydney, but I think we'll fall short in the end. I'm going to tip the Dogs by 20 points. That's all from me, Hawkers. Hopefully, the review video on Tuesday will be a little bit more of a positive one than this week. Hopefully, the boys can bounce back. I hope you all have a great weekend, and we will see you in the next video. Peace out.